I was making my way through the local drive-through when I saw a little bird that was flopping around on the ground. I stopped the car, I got out, I walked up to it, picked it up. It was a mockingbird, and it had a broken leg and a broken wing. The first thing I did was I called the Parks and Wildlife Department and the game warden to let them know that I had a mockingbird and relayed to them that its injuries, and I don't know why I expected them to come running with an ambulance to come pick this little bird up. They said there was nothing they could do, so we called the doctor, and the doctor said it's about the same thing. Told him that the little leg was dangling and wing was broke. So the doctor told us to wrap the wing and cut the little leg off. I was like, what? So I did what the doctor said, and we wrapped the wing really, really good. And the little leg that dangled, we cut it with a pair of scissors. And I happened to have a large bird cage that we put him inside, and he seemed to be comfortable with. I was in shock. The next morning, find out the bird was still alive. But there he was, a little one-legged mockingbird in my bird cage. So I went in the yard and I dug up some worms, found some grasshoppers, and I put it in the cage. And I was kind of worried because it didn't seem like this little mockingbird was eating, and I got a little worried about it. We got done doing a little research and found that they also like crickets. Well, right down the road was a little marina where they sold bait, and they just happened to have crickets. So I went and bought me a little batch of crickets and brought them in there, and he went to town on those crickets. I said, okay, he's gonna be all right. After a couple months, it looked like Lone Star, that's what we named him, was doing pretty good. I remember coming into the house one day, and this little bird came flying straight at me and landed on my hat, on my head. That seemed to be the norm for a long time. He liked to land on the hats because he only had one leg. It was easy landing for him. So for a long time, he just had the run of the house. And then at night, we'd try to put him in and lock him up for safekeeping. But next morning, he'd be chirping and chirping, wanting out of that cage. And it got to where the front door was open one day, and he flew outside and flew back inside. So he got to be part of the family. We had Lone Star, the lone-legged mockingbird, for a little over a year, and he had the free will of coming and going. We'd keep the door open half the time, and he'd just fly out, mess around, and fly back in. And one day he just never flew back. But wasn't long after that, I was working on my truck outside. I was working on the motor, and all of a sudden something attacked my hat. It scared the bejesus out of me. And it was Lone Star. He'd come back for a little, how you doing? And spent a few minutes, held him for a minute, and he flew off back out into the wild. And that's the story of Lone Star, the one-legged mockingbird.